Dan's jet to the draft lottery.
Yeah.
Boy, Colston has grown up. He really has. He looks like a...
What if I told you that one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL is being deliberately sabotaged by his own coaching staff? That's exactly what multiple NFL insiders are claiming is happening to Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland right now. The drama started with something as simple as good sportsmanship. After kicker Andre Smith missed a crucial field goal, Sanders walked over to console his teammate. You'd think this would be praised as great leadership, right? Wrong. Critics immediately jumped on Sanders, claiming the whole thing was staged for the cameras. They said he planned it just to get his face on TV. This wild accusation caught the attention of Browns insider Tony Rizzo, who absolutely destroyed these claims. Rizzo pointed out something pretty obvious. Not a single person from inside the Browns locker room has ever said anything about this supposed staged moment. Why? Because there's no source. It's completely made up. Rizzo asked the perfect question that shut down all the haters. He said, "Since when did consoling a teammate become something wrong?"
Shedeur just happened to know what
I'm not telling you what I think. I will tell you what I think.
You think he pre-planned that to get his face on camera?
But here's where this story gets really ugly. The hate towards Sanders isn't just about football, it's about something much deeper that we've seen time and time again in the NFL. When a young black quarterback shows confidence, leadership, or even just gets attention, critics twist it into arrogance or selfishness. What makes this even worse is that the Browns organization seems to be feeding into this narrative. While team ownership actually wants Sanders on the field earlier, the coaching staff and management are doing everything they can to keep him buried on the depth chart. And get this, they have Sanders listed as the third-string quarterback going into Week 2 against Baltimore, with Joe Flacco starting. Joe Flacco, a veteran who's clearly past his prime, is getting meaningful game time while Sanders watches from the sidelines. The really shocking part is how the Browns handled Sanders during preseason. Multiple NFL experts are calling it straight-up sabotage. Let me break down what happened because this is where things get really suspicious. In the first preseason game against Carolina, Sanders played with decent talent around him and looked great. He threw for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, showing exactly why he was considered a first-round talent before mysteriously dropping to the 5th round. Then in the second preseason game, Sanders couldn't play because of an oblique injury. Fair enough, injuries happen. But the third preseason game against the Rams, that's where everything went wrong, and it wasn't an accident. Sanders was thrown in there with 3rd, 4th, and 5th-string offensive linemen, guys who weren't even going to make the final roster. The result? Sanders got sacked 5 times and could only complete 3 of 6 passes for 14 yards. His net total for the game was negative 27 yards. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, the other rookie quarterback, got to play with much better talent around him and threw for 129 yards and a touchdown. See the difference? When Sanders had good players around him, he succeeded. When they stuck him with guys who were about to get cut, he struggled. That's not a coincidence. The most infuriating part came at the end of that Rams game. With 2 minutes left and the Browns trailing by 3 points, any normal coach would give their young quarterback a chance to lead a comeback drive, not Kevin Stefanski. Instead, he pulled Sanders and put in Tyler Huntley, a guy who got cut immediately after the game. Think about that for a second. Stefanski chose to give the final drive to a player he knew wasn't even making the team instead of letting Sanders show what he could do in a clutch situation. Robert Griffin III, who actually played for the Browns back in 2016, didn't hold back when he saw this happening. Griffin said Sanders was never given an equal opportunity to compete with Gabriel. He pointed out that if this was a real competition, both rookies would have played with the same level of talent around them. Griffin called the Browns' quarterback situation toxic and said they need to trade one of the rookies because the current environment isn't helping either player develop. NFL Hall of Famer Kurt Warner was equally frustrated. Warner said he was looking forward to seeing both rookies compete fairly, but Gabriel got good opportunities to make plays while Sanders didn't get those same chances. Warner said it made it impossible to evaluate Sanders because the deck was stacked against him properly. Even current NFL quarterback Derek Carr questioned the decision. Carr asked why the Browns wouldn't want to see their young quarterback operate in a 2-minute drill situation. He said it would give Sanders valuable experience for the future. But that's exactly the point. The Browns don't seem interested in Sanders' future development. The criticism kept pouring in from all corners of the NFL world. Skip Bayless said the deck was stacked against Sanders. Tony Jones from The Athletic said Sanders was set up by his coaching staff and called the Browns' treatment of him disgusting. Sports analyst Robert Little went even further, saying Stefanski didn't want Sanders to win the game because he didn't want to deal with all the conversation about Sanders leading a great comeback drive. Multiple analysts are saying Stefanski wanted Sanders' last memory to be looking bad, so when they bury him on the depth chart, it would look justified. When reporters asked Stefanski about these accusations, his response was pretty weak. He said he's committed to Sanders' development just like all the rookies and that he doesn't concern himself with outside opinions. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions tell a completely different story. Here's what makes this whole situation even more confusing. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam has a history of wanting headline-grabbing quarterbacks. He's the one who wanted Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Watson, and Baker Mayfield. Sanders fits that exact profile. He's got charisma, swagger, and a growing fan base that makes him one of the most talked-about names in the league. From a business perspective, Sanders is exactly what the Browns need. He brings attention and excitement that translates to ratings, viewership, and revenue. The Browns weren't exactly headline material before Sanders arrived, but his presence alone has kept Cleveland in the conversation. Haslam understands that Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a brand that can elevate the entire organization. So why is there such a disconnect between what the owner wants and what the coaching staff is doing? Multiple teams are reportedly interested in trading for Sanders because they see his potential. But the Browns front office has made it clear they're not letting him go anywhere, even though they refuse to give him a real opportunity. The most frustrating part is how Sanders has handled this whole mess. Instead of complaining or causing drama, he's been nothing but professional. After the terrible Rams game, Sanders posted on social media thanking everyone for their support and saying he's grateful for the opportunity to learn and get better. When he was visibly frustrated about being pulled from the game, he explained it perfectly. In the heat of the battle, you want to be that alpha. You want to be that dog. You want to be out there in that final 2-minute drive. That's what happens when you want to be a player to be able to change a franchise. That's exactly the kind of competitive fire you want from your quarterback. But instead of nurturing that, the Browns seem determined to crush it.
First, your reaction to what went down in Carter's ejection.
Utterly disgusted.
The NFL season opener turned into chaos. Instead of highlights, fans got controversy. A single act sparked outrage, ignited debate. What really happened on that field, and why has it shaken the league so hard? Let's break it down. The Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles are no strangers to hostility. Every time these two meet, sparks fly. But nobody expected Week 1 of the new season to deliver this kind of drama. All eyes were on Dak Prescott, the Cowboys' leader, and Jalen Carter, the Eagles' rising defensive star. What followed wasn't a highlight reel of touchdowns and sacks. It was a national scandal that had nothing to do with football plays and everything to do with respect. Midway through the first quarter, cameras caught something stunning. After an exchange near the Cowboys' huddle, Jalen Carter leaned in and spit directly on Dak Prescott. The footage aired in slow motion across national broadcasts. The crowd gasped, social media exploded, and within minutes, referees had ejected Carter. Analysts wasted no time. On ESPN, Stephen A. Smith called it utterly disgusted. Utterly disgusted. It's inexcusable. You don't spit on a man. You spit on Dak Prescott. You don't think somebody's going to see that? The dumbest possible thing.
Utterly disgusted. It's inexcusable. And, you Jalen Carter, first of all, he should have been ejected. Secondly, I think he should be suspended for at least one game. You don't spit on anybody. You don't spit on a man. That's number one. Number two.
Or a woman.
Of course. But I'm just talking about football players on the field, obviously. Obviously, then you think about it. Who's the most protected football player on the field? It's the quarterback. You spit on Dak Prescott? You don't think somebody's going to see that? Just the dumbest.
Carter walked to the locker room smirking. To many, that only made things worse. The Eagles had just lost their best defensive lineman in the opening game. Prescott, meanwhile, stayed on the field, untouched for the rest of the night. Spitting in sports isn't just unsanitary. It's seen as one of the ultimate signs of disrespect. In football, where players smash into each other on every snap, words and hits are part of the game, but spit crosses a line. Quarterbacks especially are considered untouchable. They're the most protected players on the field. Targeting one with something as blatant as spit felt beyond reckless. As Stephen A. put it bluntly,
and as far as I'm concerned, not only does he deserve a rejection, he deserves a suspension because of that. Because you got to send a message if you're the league. We ain't tolerating this kind of nonsense.
For Jalen Carter, the timing couldn't have been worse. His NFL talent is undeniable, but his off-field past has already raised eyebrows. In 2023, Carter was tied to a tragic car crash that dominated headlines. Many scouts believed it hurt his draft stock, pushing him from a projected top overall pick down to 9th. To critics, the spitting incident reinforced old doubts about his maturity. As Smith reminded viewers,
remember that car crash incident? People didn't trust you. Now you come on the field and you conduct yourself like that.
Carter's smile as he left the field suggested he didn't grasp the gravity of the moment. But as the dust settled, a new twist emerged. Days later, a grainy sideline video hit the internet. Fans replayed it frame by frame. In the clip, Dak Prescott spit toward the ground near the Eagles' defensive line just seconds before Carter's retaliation. It wasn't clear if Prescott was just clearing his throat, but the smirk and glance that followed told a different story to many viewers. Carter appeared to see it as an insult, marched over and spat directly on Dak. That footage flipped the narrative. Suddenly, Carter wasn't the lone villain. Now, the question was, did Dak bait him first? If the video stirred the pot, Jason Kelce set it on fire. The retired Eagles center posted the clip on X, formerly Twitter, with just 7 words, "And the truth shall set you free."
Offensive lineman, and Dak spits down towards the ground, but in the direction of the Eagles with Carter, who had walked over there, and that begins the interaction of the two. Prescott's spit was down, Carter.
No hashtags, no context, just the video and the phrase. Within hours, millions had viewed it. By the next morning, it had gone viral, topping 10 million plays. To Eagles fans, it was validation. To Cowboys fans, it felt like betrayal. Why would a respected veteran like Kelce pour fuel on the controversy? In later interviews, he explained, "Look, I'm not saying Dak meant anything evil, but that clip matters. That's the truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it." The league couldn't ignore the storm. Officials launched a full review. They studied broadcast angles, the leaked video, and even interviewed players and coaches. Days later, the NFL announced its ruling. Jalen Carter would remain ejected and fined, but the shock was Dak Prescott's punishment, a 1-game suspension. The league statement was clear. Sportsmanship is the foundation of this league. Actions that show intent to disrespect opponents, even if subtle, will not be tolerated. Dak Prescott's behavior did not reflect the standards of the NFL. For Dallas, it was a gut punch. Their star quarterback would miss week 2, not for a bad throw, not for breaking rules of play, but for spitting. Cowboys Nation erupted. Skip Bayless called it the most unfair suspension in NFL history. Fans filled social media with conspiracy theories. The league protects Philly. The league hates Dallas. Memes flooded timelines. Prescott was photoshopped into fountains. Carter became the star of redemption memes. Jason Kelce was painted as Moses, parting seas of truth. But not everyone saw it that way. Even if the spit wasn't directly on Carter, the timing and body language looked like taunting. For Jalen Carter, the shift was remarkable. Days earlier, he was called a disgrace to football. After the video surfaced, supporters argued he had simply reacted to provocation. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni defended him, saying, "This is a violent, emotional game. When players feel disrespected, things happen. We don't condone it, but let's not pretend this was one-sided." The message was clear. Carter wasn't blameless, but he wasn't the only guilty party. Even after Prescott's suspension, Stephen A. Smith stood firm about Carter. When you spit on a quarterback and you get yourself ejected, it was stupid. It was immature. But he admitted the Prescott angle complicated the issue. Carter may have reacted, but losing control still cost his team in a big game. This wasn't just about 2 players. It raised deeper questions. What counts as disrespect? How much should perception matter in punishment? Whether Dak meant it that way may never be clear, but millions saw it that way, and that perception drove the suspension. For Dallas, the timing couldn't be worse. Losing their starting quarterback for Week 2 throws the season into turmoil. Backup options don't inspire the same confidence, and the pressure on the offense will skyrocket. Inside the locker room, questions linger. Did Dak let his emotions get the better of him? Is he losing his composure under pressure? One game might not ruin a season, but the doubt it creates can linger far longer. For Philadelphia, the scandal had the opposite effect. What started as embarrassment turned into a rallying cry. Carter, once the villain, was reframed as a defender of pride. The team leaned into the controversy, with fans chanting even louder against Dallas. In football, moments become legacies. Dak Prescott has been the face of the Cowboys for years, steady, composed, and professional. Now, his image carries a blemish. This isn't about throwing interceptions or losing playoff games, it's about respect, and once a quarterback is seen crossing that line, the stain is hard to remove. As one analyst put it, this wasn't just Cowboys versus Eagles. This was about perception, rivalry, and reputation. Week 1 was supposed to showcase football. Instead, it showcased spit. One smirk, one gesture, and suddenly the league's biggest story has nothing to do with touchdowns. Dak Prescott suspended, Jalen Carter still criticized, Jason Kelce stirring the pot. The scoreboard said the Cowboys won the game, but the cameras told a different story. And in the NFL, sometimes it's not about the final whistle, it's about the image burned into fans' minds. So what do you think? Was Dak treated unfairly, or did the league make the right call? Should Carter be forgiven, or was both punishment too soft? Let us know in the comments. And if this scandal shocked you as much as it shocked the NFL, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next big story in sports.
But surely you have a concern. Willing to share what your concerns are with your team going into the season?
Am I willing to? No.
Something strange is happening in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders hasn't even played yet, but his name is already causing chaos for the Browns. Reporters keep asking strange questions, players look uneasy, and head coach Kevin Stefanski seems stressed. From Joe Flacco to Jerry Jeudy, nobody is safe from the mess. Now fans are asking, is Cleveland's biggest problem on the field or in the press room? The Browns thought Sanders would bring excitement, but instead he has shown cracks off the field. Local reporters, already known for clumsy questions, are getting heat for how they handle press talks. In one moment, Stefanski was pushed to reveal his biggest concerns before the season, a question many fans called careless. Jerry Jeudy was asked to size up Joe Flacco, a phrase that sounded more like boxing than football. Even simple topics like rookie prep and receiver depth turned awkward. The reaction was quick. Players looked uncomfortable, fans were frustrated, and analysts called it sloppy. Sanders hasn't taken a snap, but his name is already tied to Cleveland's strangest storyline. Kevin Stefanski came ready to talk football, but Tony Grossi asked something odd. Surely you have a concern. Willing to share what your concerns are with your team going into this season? Stefanski gave a short reply, "Am I willing to?" The clip spread fast. Fans laughed at the question and experts called it careless. Why would a coach tell the world his team's weak spots? What could have been a simple check on how the two were working together turned into another strange moment. For Stefanski, it showed how quickly press talks in Cleveland can go wrong. For players, it proved even simple answers could become headlines. And for Shedeur Sanders, it was a warning of the spotlight coming his way. Reporters aren't the only target, fans are upset too. One fan said it straight. "I can't do it again. I can't go 3-14 again as a fan. I can't do it."
To go even 3-14, something disastrous,
I can't do it again.
Out of control of the coach has to happen.
I can't do it again. I can't go 3-14 again as a fan. I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's okay.
That feeling has started a debate about head coach Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry. Some think their jobs are safe. Others say last year's mistakes, too many penalties, turnovers, and giving up play calling mid-year should put Stefanski on the hot seat. The Browns were the most penalized team in the league. Offside calls, missed blocks, and fumbles ruined drives. Injuries played a part, but fans want more than excuses. They want order and discipline. For Shedeur Sanders, this means more pressure. People hope he will be the team's savior, but no rookie can win alone. If the Browns don't fix their culture, even a talented quarterback could end up stuck in the same losing cycle Cleveland has faced for years. The Browns' biggest problem is still the quarterback spot. Under Kevin Stefanski, the team has used veterans, rookies, and even emergency fill-ins. Some, like Joe Flacco or Case Keenum, won a few games, others struggled